In Palestine, Israeli occupation forces continue bombing urban areas across Gaza, leaving dozens dead in the last 24 hours. In Caracas, Venezuela, the United Nations Special Committee on Decolonization kicked off its Caribbean Regional Seminar on Tuesday. And Russian President Vladimir Putin will make a two-day visit to the People's Republic of China on Thursday at the invitation of his counterpart, Xi Jinping. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Dozens of Palestinian civilians were killed and others were injured in Israeli artillery bombing targeting several areas in the Gaza Strip. Amid the ongoing Israeli siege on Gaza, the IDF highlighted multiple deadly attacks across the Gaza Strip. In the way, Israeli aircraft bombed a house in the Nusayrat refugee camp in central Gaza, killing at least 14 Palestinians, including several children. In the north, Israeli tanks, bulldozers and armored vehicles surrounded evacuation areas and shelters in Habalia as aircraft bombed several homes in Al Ternis Street.
Around 12:30 or 1 a.m., we were surprised by the strike on this three-store building. It was full of people, displaced from Rafah. They arrived 2 nights ago.
The civil defense pulled out 3 martyrs at night and 10 wounded. In the morning we went back to work this morning and locals are saying that there are dozens of people under the rubble, the majority displaced people.
The United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees said on Tuesday that nearly 450,000 people have been displaced from Rafah since Israel began issued evacuation orders from the southern Gaza city 8 days ago. In this regard, UNRWA said in a statement that Gazans face constant fatigue, hunger and fear while the streets of the city of Rafah remain empty with no safe places. In the meantime, Israel continued targeting urban areas despite United States warnings against a full-scale assault on the southern Gaza city, which is packed with displaced Palestinians. On the other hand, UNRWA also states that the Israeli operations in Rafah have closed an important aid passage, worsening an already desperate situation.
We left Rafah when the attacks and heavy bombing set off. We asked and they told us that the Jews are attacking the Eastern Cemetery. In the school where we were sheltered there were no less than 5 families as we were all displaced. We had no tent or anything. We decided to head for Al Nazir without bringing anything with us, to be honest.
In turn, Muhammad recounted the suffering his family has gone through amid the genocide perpetrated by Israel.
We are compelled to stay here. There is nowhere else to go, and we are dead anyway. Imagine we are in a room or in an apartment, and you without having done anything, without having any relation with Hamas or Israel or any other group, and suddenly the missiles fall on you. Then, people here have witnessed death more than once. It's like a cemetery here. Not even an animal accepts to stay here.
And the United Nations International Court of Justice will hold hearings on Thursday and Friday to discuss new emergency measures sought by South Africa over Israel's attacks on Rafah. The request is part of an ongoing case brought by South Africa against the Tel Aviv regime in January, accusing it of committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. On Sunday, Egypt joined Turkey and Colombia in formally requesting to join the case against Israel. In this context, at the Qatar Economic Forum, Qatar's Prime Minister said ceasefire talks are almost at a stalemate and called out Israel's lack of clarity in regards to an end to the war, as attacks on Rafah have set negotiations with Hamas backward.
There is no clarity how to stop the war from the Israeli side. I don't think that they are considering this as an option. And there is also, unfortunately, like a stereotype, even when we are talking about a deal and potential leading to a potential ceasefire, a lot of politicians are, retracting us by their statements that they will remain there, they will continue the war. And there is no clarity on what Gaza will look like after this.
We continue in Palestine as thousands of demonstrators marched in the city of Hebron on Monday to condemn the genocide perpetrated by Israel in the Gaza Strip. The demonstration was organized by the social movement Hibs Utahrir and stayed in front of the Al-Abar Mosque in Hebron and headed towards the city center. The participants called on the Arab and Islamic armies to take urgent measures to save Rafah and the people of Gaza. In this regard, the spokesman of Hibs Utahrir stressed that what is happening in the Gaza Strip has revived the spirit of jihad and sacrifice in the nation.
Our message today, from Hebron to the entire Islamic world, is that there is no more time to waste. It is imperative that you take action to remove these rulers and thrones and liberate Palestine immediately. After Gaza, there will be a colonization of Beirut, Damascus, Cairo, and all Muslim countries.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In Caracas, Venezuela, the United Nations Special Committee on Decolonization kicked off its Caribbean Regional Seminar on Tuesday. The event, that will take place from May 14th to 16th, aims to discuss fundamental issues of the new multipolar world and is attended by high authorities such as the Vice-President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez. During the first day of activities, the Bolivarian official denounced the blockade against Venezuela, along with the unilateral coercive measures that, she added, are part of the media hegemony and the world cultural instrument of neocolonialism. Rodriguez highlighted that neocolonialism is behind the resources and not the development of new models. Furthermore, she stated these new forms of colonization in countries must end. In this context, Venezuelan Vice-President denounced that the unilateral coercive measures imposed by the United States affected the domestic product with losses of more than $230 billion.
30 sanctioned countries, 28% of the world's population is under sanctions, and it covers 72% of the planet's territory. And whose sanctions? The same colonial powers, the United States, France, the United Kingdom, and others. But mainly the colonial powers that today, in the 21st century, still have no autonomous territories under their administration. It is an international disgrace that in the 21st century we have to suffer that they try to subjugate the peoples through mechanisms of economic sanctions and economic blackmail. Well, the impact that the blockade has had on Venezuela in 5 years, the losses represented $232 billion in the gross domestic product of Venezuela.
Rivers in southern Brazil rose again on Monday as rescue efforts intensified following floodings. More than 600,000 people have been displaced by the heavy rains, floods and landslides that have ravaged the southern state of Rio Grande do Sul for nearly 2 weeks. At least 147 people died and more than 800 were injured by the deluge. Rescue teams searched Monday in boats and jet skis for 127 missing people. Hundreds of cities and towns, as well as part of the regional capital Porto Alegre, remain underwater, with the streets turned into waterways. In this context, President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva acknowledged that authorities had not been prepared for a disaster of such magnitude.
I'm anxious that the water won't go down, that it doesn't stay clean. and that we have to start from scratch again. We lost everything. We lost our car, but we are going with willpower. I know that everyone will help everyone there. We went to pick what was remaining at my father's house. The way the forecast is now, better to take what is left so we don't lose everything as we lost a lot already.
According to the latest report of the Civil Defense in Rio Grande do Sul, the records confirmed the existence of approximately 538,245 displaced people, which correspond to approximately 5% of the population of the state. On the other hand, the official report states that 77,405 people have been received in shelters. According to the latest bulletin, out of the 497 municipalities in the area, a total of 450 were affected by flooding caused by the heavy rains. In this context, Jonas Calvi, mayor of the locality of Encantado, declared that there was still much water to come. On Monday in Chile, local media reported a fire at the Palace of Justice in the city of Santiago. Authorities confirmed that firefighters controlled the fire and stated that although the magnitude of the damage is not yet known, there were no people injured or documents damaged. In a statement, the judiciary explained that the fire affected the third room of the court, known for handling several cases of great public interest in the middle of a trial. According to a preliminary report from the firefighters, the fire was caused by an electrical failure when the offices were closed.
We are investigating the origin and cause. What I can confirm is that the fire started inside the building. No documents were affected, only the hearing room in the third room, and the damage to the structure.
We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Russian President Vladimir Putin will visit the People's Republic of China on May 16th and 17th at the invitation of his counterpart Xi Jinping. According to the Kremlin press service, Putin's trip to China is a state visit and the first since Putin assumed his fifth term in office on May 7th. During the Russian president's stay in Beijing, the two heads of state will discuss in detail the full range of issues of comprehensive partnership and strategic interaction between the two countries. After the talks, a number of bilateral documents are expected to be signed. Putin and Xi will also take part in a ceremony on the occasion of the 75th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries. On Tuesday, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov emphasized that cooperation between Russia and China plays a vital balancing role in world affairs.
China has become a leader in global development. This does not suit the United States, which, together with its satellites, having already subjugated the rest of the West, declared at the doctrinal level that they cannot allow anyone to become stronger and more influential than Washington. Therefore, together with our Chinese colleagues, we have an objective interest in continuing to lead in efforts to establish a more just and democratic world order. The duo of Moscow and Beijing plays a vital balancing role in world affairs. I am confident that the upcoming visit of the Russian President to the People's Republic of China will strengthen our joint work.
Russia's investigative committee opened a criminal case against Yuri Kuznetsov, head of the Defense Ministry's Human Resources Department, suspected of bribery. According to a statement issued on Tuesday, Kuznetsov received a bribe from representatives of commercial structures for certain actions in his favor. As a result, a court remanded him in custody. During of the official's home, cash worth more than 100 million rubles, about $1.1 million, gold coins, collector's watches, and luxury items were found and seized. Last month, Russia's Deputy Defense Minister Timur Ivanov was arrested on the same charge. On Tuesday, former Australian military lawyer David McBride was sentenced to 5 years and 8 months in prison for leaking classified information to the press. According to the verdict, McBride allegedly helped leak evidence linking members of the Australian military to various war crimes committed in Afghanistan, including illegal executions of prisoners. The ruling drew strong criticisms from several figures, including Stella Assange, wife of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. Let us remember that Assange is detained in the United Kingdom and requested by the United States for leaking thousands of classified documents about the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. In New Caledonia, rallies continue against a constitutional amendment bill being debated in the French Assembly. Independence rallies burst out on Monday to coincide with the onset of the debate in Paris on a constitutional reform aimed at expanding the electoral roll for provincial elections in New Caledonia, an archipelago under France's rule in Oceania. The French Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin called for calm to return to the territory, denounced the firing of large-caliber weapons, and announced the implementation of a curfew in Nouméa for as long as necessary. Meanwhile, the High Commissioners of the Republic said that at least 50 factories had been set on fire and 54 police officers injured.
I'm asking the traditional authorities to tell their young people to calm down. I can't think of any other words, but we will not stand by and watch if the shooting continues. They will be arrested, disarmed, and brought to justice.
Protestors also expressed their reasons for their disagreement with the reform and stated that the situation cannot continue.
I really don't agree with this reform. I don't understand why we should give other people the chance or the room to decide for us. We've been in a colonial situation for several years now, and I think this reform is the reason. No, it cannot go on, and that's why I'm here today. At least for my children, for everyone.
Now let's go to the sports world with handball news, because Cuba qualified for the Men's World Championship after winning the North American and Caribbean Men's Championship hosted in Mexico. Cuba, who won as undefeated, is also the only country that has been on the podium in all editions of this regional tournament, having won it in 2018, been runner-up in 2014 and bronze medalist in 2022. The World Handball Championship will be held from January 14th to February 2nd, 2025, and will be jointly hosted by Croatia, Denmark and Norway. In Germany, authorities reported that security at the 2024 Euro Cup will be at all-time high.
European Championship organizers said they will seek to protect themselves from a variety of threats, such as possible terrorist attacks. Security forces will be in charge of protecting some 2.7 million fans. 24 team sites spread throughout the country and 10 stadiums where 51 matches will be played between June 14th and July 14th. In addition to the aforementioned measures, German Interior Minister Nancy Faeser stated that different teams will be subject to reinforced security measures to avoid any possible situations.
The Euro 2024 Football Championship trophy arrived on Monday at the Allianz Arena in Munich, Germany, where the opening match between Germany and Scotland will be played on June 14th. This will be the 17th edition of the European tournament for national teams, with some countries already emerging as favorites, such as Germany, France, Italy and Spain. The defending champion is the England team, who won the final game against Italy on July 11th, 2020, with a score of 3-1. In South Korea, with a shaved head and monk robes, a DJ chants traditional Buddhist scriptures mixed with Gen Z life advice over EDM beats while the crowd goes wild. Jung Sung-ho is a comedian turned musician, host, but his inspired viral shows have revived Buddhism popularity among young South Koreans, although his performances have caused regional uproar, even leading to police complaints in Malaysia. In South Korea's Zen Buddhism is tradition, which holds that the truth of religion transcends the physical. Yeon has been welcomed with open arms by senior clerics who see him as the means of younger generations. One high-ranking monk even bestowed on him the name Monk New Jinsin, under which Yeon, 47 and on road denied, currently performs. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.